These are the 50 most Googled weight loss questions in the last 6 months.
Should I fast for weight loss?
There is no magic at all whatsoever to intermittent fasting outside of the calorie deficit that it puts you in. I have a couple different beefs with fasting per se. First and foremost, I've helped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women out of the fasting rut. And every single female I've helped out of the fasting rut has the same exact story. What starts in a 16-8 eating window ends up with them eating 1 meal a day. Why? Because the scale stops moving. And every single freaking time the scale stops moving, you reduce your eating window even more. So it starts at 16-8, moves to you eating 4 hours a day, from 4 hours a day down to 1 meal a day. And then my challenge here is, where do you go after the scale stops moving at 1 meal a day? You're just gonna eat like every other day kind of concept. And then on top of that, fasting is basically telling yourself you're not going to eat enough protein. So many women can't even eat enough protein in a normal eating window, let alone a restricted one. And if you're not eating enough protein and you're in a calorie deficit, you're losing muscle mass, which is taking you in the ass backwards direction of your goals. So will fasting work if you're in a calorie deficit? Yeah, but also a calorie deficit works without fasting. Crazy concept.
How many days a week should I work out?
It's not so much how many days should you work out as much as it is the intensity that you're bringing to your training sessions. And this is something I always tell and encourage my clients to meet themselves where they're currently at. If you're new to strength training, 3 full body days a week is gonna work wonders for us.
How long should I work out?
Again, it's not really the time that you're working out as much as it is the training intensity that you're bringing to your session. So you could be the person who works out 6-7 days a week, 2 to 3 hours a day, but you can be picking up pink shiny dumbbells, you can be jaw jacking and see 0 results. Or you can give me 3 days a week at 45-minute sessions, training to failure, and see amazing results. So again, it's not the time, it's not the amount of days as much as it is the intensity that you're bringing to your training sessions.
What is a calorie deficit?
So a calorie deficit means that we're burning more calories than what we're taking in. And if your goal is fat loss, we have to be in a negative energy balance. We control our energy balance in 2 ways, via our input, the amount of food that we eat, and also our output. And when we look at the output part of the equation, and if we take a pyramid of how we burn calories, at the very foundation of that pyramid is our BMR. And this is the amount of calories that your body needs every single day at rest doing absolutely nothing. It's a Netflix and chill every single day kind of day. Your body needs X amount of calories just to keep organs functioning, to keep the lights on. On top of our BMR, we have our NEAT, which is our non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And this is walking the dog, cleaning the house, dancing around. This is all of your activity outside of the gym. On top of your NEAT, we actually have your TEF, which is your thermic effect of food. And this is the amount of calories that your body burns just digesting food. Fun fact, eating more protein has a higher thermic effect of food. And then on top of your TEF, we have your EAT, which is actually your exercise activity thermogenesis. So that is the amount of calories that your body burns during your training sessions. So your exercise piece of the equation actually accounts for the smallest piece of the puzzle. And what I see happen so very often is everybody wants to put all of their energy and all of their eggs into the 1 hour a day that they're working out and very little energy and effort into the other 23 hours of the day. And if your NEAT, which is that non-exercise activity thermogenesis, accounts for 30 to 35% of your daily calorie burn, chances are you're gonna want to put more energy into that basket. And then keep in mind that the largest chunk of the amount of calories that you're burning daily comes from your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. The only way to increase your BMR is adding muscle to your frame, moving your body more. This is why we want to create a metabolism that is on mother effing fire.
Are GLP-1s good for weight loss?
So GLP-1s have actually been around longer than what anybody wants to give them credit for. So it's a diabetic, I want to say medication, but it's a peptide. And our bodies already naturally produce these peptides. And they can be extremely powerful in the right situation when dosed correctly. But my problem with GLP-1s is that anybody can walk into a glamorized day spa and get prescribed a GLP-1 these days. And a GLP-1, when it comes to weight loss, it works because it's a massive appetite suppressant. So if you take a GLP-1 and you just stop eating, yeah, that's going to result in weight loss. But again, weight loss and fat loss are 2 very, very, very different concepts. So my struggle with GLP-1s, as mentioned, is that anybody can walk into a glamorized day spa, get prescribed a GLP-1. And when it's not being dosed correctly and dosages are too high, appetite's being completely suppressed. And just not eating is not a strategy. It's not a plan. You're losing muscle mass at that point. But also with dosages that high, this is where massive side effects are coming into play. So people end up coming off of these medications medications, and they end up in a worse position when they started because hunger comes back like tenfold, and you end up gaining all of the weight back plus a courtesy 10, 15, 20 pounds, and in a worse position than when you started because of the amount of muscle that you've lost. However, in the right circumstances, working with a provider who truly understands these peptides, they can be very powerful. We're seeing them do a lot of things right now. Obviously, it's helping with insulin resistance, it's helping to push autophagy, it's helping control inflammation, which has probably been the biggest benefit I've seen with a lot of my clients. So when dosed correctly and they come with a plan, they come with a strategy, they can be extremely powerful.
How much protein can your body absorb at a time?
So there's a myth that your body can only absorb 30 grams of protein at a time, and that's just not the case. Where people struggle is when they try to consume a large amount of protein in one sitting, digestion can take a hit. However, your body doesn't stop absorbing protein after X amount. The biggest thing is that you're hitting your protein goals daily, not so much how much protein you're eating per meal. If it helps you to break that out and your goal is, let's say, 150 grams of protein daily, and you want to eat 50 grams of protein because you eat 3 times a day, perfect. The bigger picture here is hitting that protein goal daily.
How do I stay consistent?
So my bigger question here isn't necessarily do you lack consistency or do you lack motivation? My bigger challenge here is do you lack direction? And this is typically what I tend to find. Most people do not lack discipline. It comes down to a direction piece because for a few different reasons. A, they've never truly had a plan custom to them. B, they've never taken an approach of actually giving their body what it needs to thrive. And C, the direction that they are taking comes from 25-year-old fitness Felicia. Drive your body into the ground, buy my cortisol cocktail, 1,200 calories a day, because that's the only way that they know to produce results. So if you have a direction, a clear path, and you're giving your body what it needs to thrive, consistency isn't something that my girls struggle with. It's really hard to not be consistent when you wake up every single day with more energy than you know what to do with. It's really hard to not stay consistent when you have complete and total autonomy to eat a donut if you want to eat a donut and still have a body that you love. It's really hard to not stay consistent when you walk around feeling fire. You're no longer bloated. Your hair's not falling out in chunks anymore. So this comes down to a lack of direction, not a lack of discipline / motivation / consistency.
What are the best exercises for weight loss?
So there's no one best exercise for weight loss. When it comes down to fat loss, let's decipher the two right here. Weight loss, fat loss, two very different concepts. But when it comes down to fat loss, you have to be strength training. You have to be implementing a properly built strength training program focused on progressive overload. Now, here's the thing. Cardio is extremely overvalued for fat loss and undervalued for the cardiovascular benefits that it has. I'm not telling you that you shouldn't do cardio. I'm not telling you that cardio is bad for you, but it needs to be strategic. It needs to be a tool in your toolbox. It needs to be just that, a tool, not a crutch. So to wrap this up, it's not about one best exercise. It's going to come down to compound movements and taking muscle to failure and following a properly built strength training program focused on progressive overload, meaning you're doing the same program for 8, 10, 12 weeks at a time. You're tracking your training to ensure that you're getting stronger. Your training should have a mixture of compound movements as well as accessory movements.
How many days a week should I do cardio?
How many days a week you should do cardio is going to be very person and dose dependent, and it's probably going to go in stages of goals. So if your goals are fat loss, cardio is probably going to be a tad bit higher than if your goal is maintenance or if your goal is to add muscle to your frame. So cardio should work towards your goals and in alignment with your goals, not against your goals. And where I see so many go wrong is that they think that's the only way to quote unquote lose weight. And at the end of the day, we're not looking for weight loss, we're looking for fat loss. And I'd be willing to bet the goal is a banging bod that you feel damn good and naked, not just chasing a lower number on the scale. And you're never going to diet and treadmill your way to your dream body. It's just not going to happen. Cardio can be a tool in our toolbox, but if it's your only form of training, then you have the ass backwards approach.
What's your number one tip to lose weight?
Meet yourself where you're currently at. What I see happen so very often is we implement this all or nothing approach that produces all or nothing results. And if you are starting from a place where you're not training at all, you're not tracking your intake, you have no idea where calories are at, you have no idea where protein's at, and you try to go from that to eating 150 grams of protein a day and training 6 days a week, it's gonna feel really freaking overwhelming. And when life be lifing, as life always does, does. And what is the first thing that goes? It's the thing that's the least comfortable. It's the thing that's the least convenient for you. So this is not about getting from point A to point B as quickly as we possibly can. This is going to come down to implementing values that are in alignment with where you want to go. And so if we know that you are starting at 40 grams of protein a day, that's what you're averaging. We can take ourselves from 40 up to 65 and we can master that. And we can go from 65 up to 80 and master that. We're not trying to go from 40 grams of protein up to 150 and it feel really freaking overwhelming. And we want to, again, give up before we even give ourselves a chance to succeed.
What should I eat to lose weight?
You should eat the foods that you love in the right amounts. That's the only way you're ever going to lose the weight and actually keep it off. You need to understand how to give your body what it needs and combine it with what you love. Now, here's the thing. If you're eating like a 2-year-old toddler, you're gonna have a body that reflects that. So you need to understand how to fuel it correctly. The amount of protein that your body needs, more whole foods, more fiber. When that's the case, you can eat a donut every single day of your life, girlfriend, and still drop body fat. So it doesn't come down to a specific food or what you should be eating. The only way you are going to achieve the end goal is to do this in a space where we're eating all of the foods that you need, combining it with the foods that you love, and you have the education in the right amounts. With that being said, the type of food that you're eating matters, and it matters a lot. I need you eating 80+% single ingredient whole food sources. But like I said, when that's the case, we have the flexibility and the freedom for the fun foods, for the soul foods, but also ensuring that we are getting enough protein in, because this is crucial, as well as enough fiber. Calories king, protein queen, together they build the kingdom. Fiber is gonna be your jack here. So 4 protein sources. A protein shake a day, totally fine. But if your day looks like 3 protein shakes, 2 protein bars, and a bag of Quest chips, Houston, we have a problem. Your digestion's going to hate you. Your body's not going to respond as well. Single ingredient whole food sources will always win out. 80% single ingredient whole foods, 20% foods that you love, and then ensuring that you're prioritizing protein.
What fruits should I not eat?
This idea that fruit's the enemy is absolutely fucking baffling to me. I can assure you that nobody got fat eating too many bananas or blueberries or apples. There's no fruit that you shouldn't eat. You should incorporate all of the foods that you love. You need to understand how to eat them in the right amounts.
What's the best protein powder?
So not all protein powders are created equal, particularly in and around how you digest them. I personally love Legion for a couple different reasons. A, it's cold temperature processed and it digests beautifully. And B, they have 15 million different flavors. You will find something that suits your fancy, but you want to ensure that you're finding something that works well with your digestive system.
Is keto good for weight loss?
The only reason keto works is because it puts you in a calorie deficit. However, I would be willing to bet your goal isn't to just lose the weight. Your goal is to lose the weight and actually keep it off. And if you're somebody like myself who personally really fucking loves carbs, I wouldn't suggest keto as being a viable option for that. So will keto work? Again, yes, because it puts you in a calorie deficit, but also a calorie deficit works without keto. So remember, there's no best diet. The best diet is the diet that you can stay adherent and consistent to. So if you honestly love the lifestyle of keto, you love that way of living, then yes, utilize that approach. However, if you're somebody who loves carbs, who loves a bit more flexibility within their nutrition, it probably wouldn't be the best approach for you. Because at the end of the day, however you want to slice it and dice it, a calorie deficit drives the show, not whether if you're in ketosis or not.
How much water should I drink a day?
I always say 80 to 120 ounces, but use your pee as a scale. We're looking for mellow yellow. So if you are peeing fluorescent yellow, chances are you're not hydrated enough. If you're peeing and it looks the same color as your water, chances are you're drinking too much. 80 to 120 ounces, don't hyperfixate on an exact number, but again, use your pee as a guideline.
Best exercises to grow your glutes.
Some of my personal favorite exercises when it comes to glute growth is going to be RDLs, Romanian deadlifts, Bulgarian split squats. If you know, you know. Any sort of lunge variation is going to come in clutch. Hip thrusts, glute bridges are all great exercises to grow your glutes.
Why do I gain weight so easily?
So if you're gaining weight, you're in a calorie surplus. There's no other way to slice it and dice it. However, if you have a metabolism that is down-regulated and you have a metabolism that's working against you, it makes achieving a calorie surplus really freaking easy. So the goal is to create a metabolism that is on fire. We do this a few different ways. A, adding muscle to your frame is crucial. Naturally, as we age, we start to lose muscle mass at a pretty rapid rate. I'm talking 1 to 3% a year, which over the course of a decade is 10 to 30% muscle loss. Let's be honest, the majority of females are living lives that lead to losing muscle on top of that. Why? Because you're caught up in toxic diet culture. You eat, sleep, and breathe the diet. You live in the diet. You change your diet more than you change your underwear. And typically when you diet, your goal is to lose it as quickly as you possibly can. So to recap, if you're somebody who walks into a bakery, smells bread, and instantly gains 5 pounds, I'm sorry, girlfriend, that is not normal. And this is a surefire sign that your metabolism is downregulated. We need to create a metabolism that is on motherfucking fire. The best way to do so, add muscle to your frame, lift heavy shit within an 8 to 12 rep range, eat enough protein, prioritize sleep, wash, rinse, repeat.
I'm eating healthy. Why can't I lose weight?
Eating healthy and eating clean is not a plan. It's not a fucking strategy. You can eat healthy all day long and still be in a calorie surplus and gain weight. If you want to lose body fat, you have to be in a calorie deficit eating enough protein. Let's take almond butter, for example, a very clean food, a very healthy food. So your afternoon snack of almond butter is 400 to 600 calories, and then you're trying to convince me that you're only eating 1,200 calories a day. If your goal is fat loss, you have to understand macros. You have to understand calories and how many calories you're truly consuming.
Cardio or weightlifting for weight loss?
Cardio is extremely overvalued for fat loss, yet undervalued for the cardiovascular benefits that it has. So I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that cardio is bad. I'm not gonna tell you to not do cardio, but if your goal is fat loss, your goal is to change the way that your body looks, your goal is toned, a banging bod that you feel damn good and naked, you need to be strength training. You need to be lifting heavy shit multiple times a week and putting that heavy shit back down. Adding more muscle to your frame is the only way that you're gonna ensure that you lose the weight and actually keep it off by creating a metabolism that is on fire. Cardio can be a tool in the toolbox, but please don't be the person that utilizes it as a crutch.
How do I increase my metabolism?
If you want to increase your metabolism, you need to add more muscle to your frame. End of story. You need to be strength training multiple times a week. You need to be eating enough protein. You need to be prioritizing rest and recovery. Wash, rinse, repeat.
What's the best diet for weight loss?
The best diet for weight loss is the diet you can stay consistent to. End of story. There is no best diet. The best diet is the one that you can see yourself doing long term. So for example, if you're somebody who loves carbs like myself, keto probably wouldn't be a realistic approach. A calorie deficit always drives the show. However you want to slice it and dice it, that's how all of these diets are working. And to clarify, a calorie deficit isn't a diet. It's quite literally the law of thermodynamics. It's energy balance. You have to be burning more calories than what you're consuming.
Can apple cider vinegar help burn belly fat?
Well, let me ask you, does drinking apple cider vinegar put you in a calorie deficit? Does apple cider vinegar increase the amount of calories that you're burning or decrease the amount of calories you're eating? If the answer is no, then no. Apple cider vinegar does not burn belly fat.
How much weight can you lose in a month?
Well, you could eat dog shit low calories, you could amputate a limb, you could lose a kidney, and yeah, you're going to lose 20 pounds in a month, but I guarantee you, you're gonna gain 30 back. So the real question here isn't necessarily how quickly can I lose it? Why don't we shift our focus to how can I lose the weight and actually keep it off? How can I cultivate values that are in alignment with the person that I wanna become? How can I focus on that banging bod that you feel damn good and naked? Because I guarantee you, if you're looking in the mirror and you're like, hot damn, I did that, I built that. You could give two shits what the scale says. So instead of asking yourself, how quickly can I lose the weight? How much weight can I lose in 30 days? Why don't we shift that focus to what can I do in a year? Where can I go in 365 days? How can I truly create lifestyle? So this is the forever fix.
What should I drink to lose belly fat?
Again, I'm gonna go back to, does this decrease the amount of calories you're consuming or increase the amount of calories that you're burning? Probably fucking not. And also, at the end of the day, we can't spot reduce. It's not a thing. So there's no cortisol cocktail, there's no adrenal pill, whatever the case may be, that's going to help you reduce or spot reduce any sort of fat.
Can I lose weight without exercising?
Absolutely, but it's gonna require you to take calories probably a bit lower than what you're comfortable with. And what we're gonna struggle with there is being able to stay consistent to low calorie intake. You have to be in a calorie deficit to lose body fat. We do this in two ways, via our input, the amount of calories we consume, and via our output, how much we're moving. If we take out the output side of the equation, and the only thing that we have to control is our input, it's going to require us taking calories to a lower amount, and we're really going to have to make sure that we're staying adherent and consistent to eating enough protein.
Do I have to track my food to lose weight?
Do you have to study to pass the test? No. Do you have to budget to buy a house? Not necessarily. Is it the most optimal approach in either of these situations to not track the data? Probably not. So while you don't have to track to lose body fat, tracking is going to be the most effective and most efficient way to lose the weight. And the goal is we want to get in and we want to get out. We don't want to have to live in a dieting phase any longer than we need to. We cannot manage what we cannot measure. If we don't have accurate data, we're not operating from a space of logic. What I see happen is so many women want to make all of their decisions when it comes to fat loss from a space of emotion because they're not tracking the data. So no, you don't have to track, but I wouldn't recommend trying to lose body fat without having an understanding of calories, having an understanding of consumption, because at this point we're just throwing shit at a wall, praying that it sticks. Also, on top of the fact that, again, the goal isn't just lose the weight, the goal is to lose the weight and actually keep it off. And if you don't have an understanding of calorie consumption from tracking, chances of you rebounding and gaining that weight back are extremely high.
How to beat the weight loss plateau?
The real question here is, are you even in a plateau? I've helped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women throughout my coaching career. The amount of women who come to me insisting they're in a plateau versus the amount of women who are truly in a plateau are two very different groups of people. I can assure you, most who think that they're in a plateau just are not doing the shit day in and day out that they need to do to move their needle forward. Are you hitting your calorie deficit number consistently? Are you eating enough protein? Are you eating enough fiber? Are you hitting your step goal? Are you strength training? Are you prioritizing your sleep, managing your stress? Those are the things consistently that we need to implement. Most are not doing that because they only want to do it when it's new or it's fun or it's exciting, and then they want to point their fingers to a plateau.
How much protein should I eat for weight loss?
First and foremost, the amount of protein that you eat shouldn't change whether the goal is fat loss, sustaining your body weight, or adding muscle to your frame. Now, amounts. 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. The leaner you are, the closer to the full gram you need to be. If you have more than 50 pounds to lose, 0.7 to 1 gram of protein per pound of realistic goal weight. So if you're 150 pounds, you're gonna aim for 105 to 150 grams of protein every single day. Protein should be calculated off of lean body mass. However, that calculation is much more confusing. So utilize this calculation. It's going to get you really close. Give yourself a range and shoot for somewhere within that range.
What exercises help with weight loss at home?
Again, there's no best exercise when it comes to losing weight. The only way we lose body fat is by being in a calorie deficit. Can we increase our movement? Absolutely. But if you don't have access to a gym or you train at home and you have access to dumbbells or bands, we want to make sure that we're applying progressive overload and we're taking muscle to failure. You're tracking your training and you're implementing a properly built strength training program.
How to stay motivated to lose weight?
It's not that you lack motivation. It's not that you lack discipline. Again, you lack direction, because every single approach that you've ever tried in the past has been purely based in and around restriction. Nobody's gonna stay motivated to dog shit low calories or driving their body into the ground. But I can promise you, until the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the fear of change, you will continue to stay stuck. This is going to challenge you to get out of your own head and out of your own ego. Motivation and thinking that it will always be there it's unrealistic. It's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It doesn't exist. But you need to look at the metrics that you're choosing to utilize to see success. And pro tip, chances are you're not motivated because you're not seeing results. The women in my program who are consistently losing weight, changing the way that their body looks, don't struggle with motivation, because the motivation is the result. So if you're struggling, we need to cultivate values that are in alignment with where we want to go. I want you to start tracking your food, consistently eating enough protein, lifting heavy shit multiple times a week and putting it back down, tracking your step goal, prioritizing sleep, rest, recovery, wash, rinse, repeat. That will produce the results, which therefore will drive the motivation.
Can yoga help with weight loss?
So again, I'm gonna come back to, does yoga put you in a calorie deficit? A calorie deficit is what drives fat loss. If you enjoy yoga, awesome, love that for you. I feel like you should implement the things that you love weekly within your routine. However, if the goal is fat loss and building a bangin' bod that you feel damn good and naked, you need to be strength training. You need to be lifting heavy shit multiple times a week and putting it back down. And yoga, while it's great to add to, is not a replacement for a properly built strength training program.
Can stress affect weight loss?
Stress can increase cortisol, which can increase cravings, it can increase bloat, it can make sleep really challenging, and it can make achieving a calorie deficit really freaking hard. You're not losing weight because stressors are too high. High stress levels can indirectly affect fat loss because it makes achieving a calorie deficit really challenging.
Can you lose weight in menopause?
Menopause is not a death sentence. Menopause can be your new prime if you allow it to be. And yes, you can absolutely lose weight in menopause. My babes are quite literally thriving. Menopause, however, does require strategy. And what used to work in your 20s and 30s is no longer going to cut it. What most coaches, doctors, and even OBGYNs don't understand is that menopause acts and mimics a lot of the same symptoms as an autoimmune disease. A functional and holistic approach has to be taken here. So short answer, yes, you can absolutely lose weight in menopause, and I have hundreds of clients who are living proof of that.
Is metabolic adaptation real?
Yes, metabolic adaptation is a thing. However, it's not as common as what a lot of females want to make it out to be. Our metabolisms are extremely smart. They're dynamic. They were meant to keep us alive, and they don't break. However, they adapt, and they either upregulate or they downregulate based off of our lifestyle. So if the goal is to create a metabolism that is on motherfucking fire, we do so by adding muscle to our frame, which means we need to be lifting heavy shit multiple times a week and putting it back down, eating enough protein, moving our body mindfully in a way that feels good, prioritize rest and recovery, wash, rinse, repeat. That's what will fix your metabolic adaptation.
How to increase calories without gaining weight?
So a common thing I hear with a lot of women in our program is, Nicole, I've never been able to eat this much food and lose weight. And the science behind this isn't necessarily that they're eating more calories, but they're eating more volume because they're eating more whole foods that work towards their goals. So just because you're not eating a lot of food doesn't necessarily mean you're not eating a lot of calories. Also, on the other side of the equation, when we increase our movement, this gives us more flexibility to increase our calories. When I say increase movement, I don't just mean the time spent in the gym. I mean prioritizing all the movement outside of the gym. That's going to be the biggest bang for our movement buck. So step count, ensuring that you're hitting this daily, not just when it's new or it's fun or it's exciting. This is quite literally the biggest weapon that we have to pull on your fat loss journey.
Can some teas help with weight loss?
So every time you have to go back to something gimmicky, does this help me lose weight? I need you to ask yourself, does this decrease the amount of calories I'm consuming or increase the amount of calories that I'm burning?
How to lose fat without losing muscle?
This one's simple. We need to be in a calorie deficit, prioritizing protein. End of story.
Does alcohol affect weight loss?
Drinking alcohol isn't optimal for fat loss. However, is it going to stop fat loss? No. Where people struggle with alcohol consumption is it's the repercussions from drinking too much alcohol where people struggle with fat loss. Think about it. You go out to dinner with some girlfriends, you're gonna have a glass of wine. That glass of wine turns into a bottle, not that I know from personal experience. You're gonna order the steak and baked potato, and all of a sudden the fettuccine alfredo sounds really good. There's no protein to that. You wash that down. You then order dessert, of course. You get home, you're still feeling tipsy. The bag of chips in the pantry sound really appealing. You get to bed, you sleep like shit. You wake up the next day, you're hungover, you don't make it to your training sessions. You get where I'm going at here. It's the potential repercussions from alcohol, not the alcohol itself.
Can I eat carbs and still lose weight?
Remember, there's no good food versus bad food. There's no one food that stops fat loss. What stops fat loss is not being in a calorie deficit. So you can eat any food in the right amount. The devil's in the dose here. You can eat carbs, you can eat fats, you can eat sugars. 80+% of your day should come from single ingredient whole food sources. But when that's the case, that gives us the flexibility and freedom for the 10 to 20% of the fun foods, the soul foods.
How to tighten loose skin after weight loss?
So we have to remember the way that we lose the weight matters, and it matters a lot. If you take the route that so many take with excessive amounts of cardio, dog shit low calories, that's going to lead to you losing muscle, which means you're gonna be left with a lot of excess loose skin. Now, if we take the approach of high protein, strength training, that's going to lead to adding muscle to your frame, and that's the best way to combat loose skin. Now, with that being said, if you're somebody who has maybe lost a lot of weight, myself included, there comes a time where there's no amount of muscle that you can add to your frame. There's no more weight that you can lose that's going to shrink the skin. Sometimes it's just excess skin, and the only way to get rid of that is going to be through surgical removal. And here's the thing, there's no shame in that game. So I myself had a mommy makeover, and this is something that I'm honestly really proud of. I had this done when I knew for a fact that I was never going backwards again. I was never gaining the weight again. I know a lot of people who opt for liposuction and to have the surgical removal, and then they end up gaining all of the weight back. You have to have basics and non-negotiables mastered. Even my surgeon, when I had my mommy makeover, was like, Nicole, I don't have to lipo. There is no fat here. It's quite literally just excess skin. As somebody who's personally had this done myself, if this is something that you're considering, do it. Remember, this is not weight loss surgery. When we're talking excess skin, there's no other way around it.
Does detoxing help you lose weight?
I'm noticing a theme here. Everybody wants the quick fix, the magic supplement, the pill. And here's the thing, there is no other option outside of cultivating values that are in alignment with the outcome that you're looking for. I promise you, the results that you are so desperate for are found in the calories you refuse to track, the protein you refuse to eat, and the weights you refuse to lift. End of story. The only thing, again, that is going to result in you losing weight is by being in a calorie deficit. I will die on this hill.
How to hit my protein goal without going over my calories?
This is one of the biggest struggles when people start macro tracking is how do I stay within my calories and hit my protein goal? And a common misconception is just because I'm eating meat, that means high protein. And that's not always the case. It's typically high in fat, high in calories, and lower in protein. The best way to hit your protein target, staying within your calorie deficit, is to opt for leaner cuts of meat. Chicken breasts, top sirloin, extra lean ground beef, extra lean ground turkey, Greek yogurt, non-fat, cottage cheese, non-fat, eggs, egg whites. These are all great options to hit your protein goal without going over your calories. Another great way to ensure that you are hitting your protein without going over your calories, simply increase the amount of protein that you're eating at meals.
How to choose a weight loss program?
So if you're somebody who's looking for support, I would get away from looking for a program and look for a coach. And not just any coach, a coach who truly understands the female body, metabolism, hormones. Because a program is generic, it's cookie cutter, it's one size fits all. You are individual, you have unique problems, your metabolism, your goals, your lifestyle. You need to find somebody who can educate you, who can give you the tools, the systems to implement. Because again, on my team, once we get it off, we actually keep it off. So when you're looking for a coach, some of the things that I would look for would be testimonials, social proof, and asking them the hard questions. Because if they cannot give you a blueprint for the next 6 to 12 months, they're just looking to pad their pocketbook. They're not looking to provide a service for you, for real results.
Does sugar impact weight loss?
So the devil's in the dose. There's not one food or food group that's going to cause fat gain, and there's not one food or food group that's going to impact fat loss. And I've talked about this multiple times throughout this video, and this is a hill that I will die on. 80% single ingredient whole food sources, 20% gives us the flexibility for the fun foods, for the soul foods. And this is the only way that you'll ever be able to lose the weight and actually keep it off. We're looking to create lifestyle. I don't want to know a life without cookies or wine or insert whatever fun food that is for you. You shouldn't either.
What are the best supplements for weight loss?
The supplement's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and let's be honest, 95% of them are trash. You're flushing your money down the toilet. And you have to understand, there's not one single supplement out there that if your basics and your non-negotiables are not in check, will provide any sort of results. A few supplements that we recommend on my team once basics and non-negotiables are mastered. First and foremost, a protein powder. So many struggle to get enough protein in throughout their day. This is a great way to help supplement your protein intake. Remember, a protein shake a day, totally fine. The next supplement I recommend, creatine monohydrate. Creatine works on saturation, so make sure that you're taking it daily, whether you're training or not. Vitamin D plus K2, long story short, vitamin D is actually a hormone. Most Americans are deficient in vitamin D. K2 is gonna help get it where it needs to go. A solid fish oil for mental clarity, mood, focus. A multivitamin is a great way to help fill in the gaps. However, if you know that you're deficient in iron, I'd much rather you take an iron supplement. And lastly, especially for my menopause babes, magnesium glycinate. This is gonna help with sleep. It's gonna help with digestion. It's gonna help with recovery.
How to lose the last 10 pounds?
The leaner that we become, it becomes less about scale loss and more about actually changing the way that your body looks. Remember, we're not chasing a number, we're chasing a look. And that look, A, weighs a ton more than we think that it does, and B, is only going to be found in the phases when we're not dieting.
What's the best macro split for fat loss?
So this is a common myth. There is no perfect macro split. The three things that are going to drive your success: calories, protein, with an emphasis on fiber. Because remember, if it's not moving, you're not losing. To give yourself flexibility and freedom, overall calories always drive the show. Wherever carbs and fats fall, carbs and fats fall. It has been proven time and time and time again. It does not matter as long as we're in a calorie deficit, eating enough protein.
Do men and women lose fat the same?
So the law of thermodynamics is there. You have to be in a calorie deficit to lose body fat. However, for ladies, I know it's frustrating. Your partner can eat a ton more food than you can eat and still lose weight. They think about losing weight and they can lose weight. This is because they hold more muscle to their frame. The more muscle you hold, the easier fat loss becomes. The more calories you're burning at rest. The more muscle you have, the higher your metabolic rate. The higher your metabolic rate, the more food you get to eat. The more food you get to eat, the easier fat loss becomes. So as frustrating as this is, if you want to be able to eat more food and drop body fat, you need to add more muscle to your frame. My camera died before I was able to film the last two questions, but let's get right back into it. Question number 49, how do I lose weight with PCOS? Can PCOS make weight loss a bit more challenging? Sure, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. However, it's not impossible, but we do need to prioritize the right things. Balancing your meals is gonna be crucial here, which is going to help to balance your blood sugar. Every meal needs a protein, fat, and fiber source. Choices matter here, so swapping refined carbs for things like sweet potatoes, oats, quinoa can make a huge difference. We also want to make sure that we're optimizing your thyroid. This is huge and often so overlooked. Eating enough calories and getting key nutrients like selenium, zinc, iron, iodine. Those who struggle with PCOS often struggle with higher amounts of visceral fat, the fat around our organs. This can be challenging to reduce with a calorie deficit alone. Optimizing your thyroid is crucial here. You've heard me reference this multiple times throughout the video, but strength training is a non-negotiable here. Not only is it going to help add muscle to your frame, but this is going to help with your insulin sensitivity. I also need you to make sure that you're prioritizing sleep. Prioritizing sleep is one of the best ways to optimize your hormones. Losing weight with PCOS can feel like an uphill battle. However, working with somebody who truly understands the female body, metabolism, hormones is going to be a game changer here. And last but not least, question 50. Why am I not losing weight if I'm in a calorie deficit? Hard truth, and I know you don't want to hear this, but if you're not losing weight, you are in fact not in a calorie deficit. However, that's not to say that you're not trying. Achieving and maintaining a calorie deficit, it can be tricky. Let's dive in. Number one, less energy equals less movement. Very few people want to prioritize the output part of the equation. Subconsciously, you're moving less, fewer steps, more sitting, less fidgeting. These things add up. It's called adaptive thermogenesis, and it can seriously shrink your calorie burn. Number two, inaccurate tracking. Even when you think you're spot on, it is so easy to underestimate portion sizes and not account for everything that's going into your mouth. Things like a handful of nuts, cooking oil, creamer in your coffee. This is what I like to reference as the BLTs, the bites, the licks, and the taste. Number three, your weekdays versus your weekends. It is so very often that I see people allowing their weekdays to become their week's end. You may be perfect Monday through Friday, but then you're losing it on the weekends. You're hangry, you're miserable, your body's screaming at you, and you want to go out and enjoy life. You put yourself in and around food, you can't control yourself, and while you eat, like an asshole. Fat loss doesn't happen on the daily, it happens on the average. So if you're perfect Monday through Friday and then going balls to the wall on the weekends, well, you've thrown yourself out of a calorie deficit for the entire freaking week. And last but not least, let's not forget about hormonal challenges. For females, things like menopause, PCOS, and hormonal changes can make achieving a calorie deficit by affecting things like metabolism, hunger, mood, energy levels. The bottom line, a calorie deficit always works, but staying in one requires consistency, accuracy, and understanding how the body adapts. I need you to focus on tracking accurately, managing stress, and keeping activity high. And no, it's not about being perfect, it's about staying consistent over time.